You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast with your dating coach, Trip, from tripadvice.com. Do you struggle with getting girls to like you? Well, you're going to learn step-by-step how to talk to girls to create deep connections and meet the woman of your dreams. Here's your host, me, Trip. Hello and welcome to the How to Talk to Girls podcast. I'm your host, Trip Kramer from tripadvice.com. And on today's episode, I have another question from someone who emailed in. Now, he emailed in a few months ago, and I'm just diving into some really good questions that I've been emailed over the past few months, and I've been collecting these, and I've been wanting to talk about them and share them with you, the listener, stuff that I think is so important so you can relate to these people, and also so we can answer it and try to give the best answer we can to give them the best strategies to be on their way. So if you relate to the issue here, I think it's going to be very good for you. And so I'm going to read the question now, and I'm going to answer it. Let's get into it. So Anonymous says this, and by the way, this is a little bit long, but I think you're going to appreciate it, so just bear with me. Hey, Trip, great webinar, buddy, and I know it makes a lot of sense to most normal guys, but I feel that Fearless won't address my particular deep-seated personality issues which deal primarily with the feelings of being unworthy and of not being able to offer girls/women anything of value due to my circumstances, situation, and lifestyle. I'm going to interrupt here for a second. If you guys don't know what Fearless is, this is one of my programs that I do offer, and I'll put a link in the episode description. And it's something that helps with building your self-esteem and building confidence, okay? So he joined a webinar where I talked about that program, and he's basically answering this question around the idea of should he buy this program or not. But let's keep going here. He says, guys who are much older are expected to have their shit together and be financially stable, own, or be buying a home by now and have an exciting, fun-filled life. A lifestyle that younger women are drawn to and expect to get when going out with an older guy. That's why they like older guys, to get the emotional stability, maturity, and security that an older male can offer. Well, none of this is true in my case. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I believe I have very little I can really offer these beautiful young things. However, and the irony is, I do manage to give the impression I have all that by the way I present myself and carry myself. Yet no one knows the actual truth. I'm always outwardly happy, never complain, and give off a great energy and vibe, as I've been told many times. But it's all a front and totally fake, so the charade continues night after night, week after week, month after month, and I feel like a phony. You see, I go out all the time, like 3 or 4 nights per week, and have done this for the past 5 years since my difficult and devastating divorce. And while I can approach girls as I don't fear rejection or embarrassment, I usually don't bother trying, simply because deep down, I know it will eventually play, but they'll run off once they realize the truth. So I simply don't bother trying anymore. And every time an opportunity does come up, and they do often, I say to myself, what's the point? You know how this is going to end. And yet every night when I'm driving home alone for the umpteenth time, I beat myself up, internally of course, for not manning up and trying. How weird is that? I literally talk myself out of it every time because I must believe it's better not to face the reality of my situation/boring self by having others know the truth and thus reinforcing my beliefs by disappearing. So I keep them at arm's length. Hopeless, I know, and totally useless actually, and sadly it's a vicious cycle that I cannot seem to get out of no matter what I try to tell myself via positive affirmations, visualizations, power stances, etc. Actually, I always wait for girls to approach and open me, and this does happen at least once or twice every time I go out, but they're normally girls I'm not overly attracted to. However, I always act friendly and chat to them, even though I really do not like talking much to people other than hi, never make my intentions known or make any sort of move on them. Some even ask me for my number, so I must be doing something right, but I never follow up on any of them. Just can't be bothered, which is also really weird considering this is constantly on my mind. Over the past 5 years, I've become quite well known in the venues I frequent with both the staff and the regulars, and many guys think I'm this super classy, powerful, sophisticated boss who is a girl whisperer. Ha! They only knew the real truth, that I'm an emotional mess inside, completely lacking in confidence in myself, and no women in his life at all. So Trip, I feel I don't need the challenges and the routines and other similar stuff to get over the fear and embarrassment of approaching, etc., which is not there. It's more getting to the root of why I'm so down on myself and why I have no confidence in me as an interesting person. Do you still think Fearless covers this? I'm not convinced it does. And this is why I did not purchase it on the webinar, yada, yada, yada. Positive affirmations, he's tried PUA courses, he's tried, nothing has helped. I have the techniques, but that's only a band-aid to fix for a much more serious personality disorder. Cheers. Ooh, okay, that was a long one, so thank you for bearing with me here as we go through all of this. Now, here's where I want to start. First of all, Anonymous, I have answers for you. I do. I have some strategies and things you could do. I have some opinions. I have some thoughts, and I'm going to spit them all at you here on this episode. But the first thing I need to say to you, and I'm going to say this to you, listener, if this is something that feels something that you can connect with, if this is something familiar in your own life where you feel that there's this internal struggle inside of you and the inner doesn't match the outer, meaning you may think on the outside or look some way, but in the inside you feel devastated, depressed, sad, not confident, struggling with life. I believe that this is really the work for a therapist, okay? Therapist. Now, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist, a psychiatrist. I don't have my master's, my doctorate. No, okay? I only teach dating strategies and how to attract women and as well go over some internal stuff like confidence, like I do in my Fearless program, but I interview a psychologist on there, a doctor, and I also, go over some strategies that I've learned from other doctors. Now, what I'm trying to say here is if you are in a situation like this, therapy can help you a lot. Because I'm hearing what you're saying and you're saying why. And that's one of the biggest questions that you ask in therapy. You ask why. You sit down, you talk to a therapist, you say your issues, you maybe even read this to them, and you ask why. Why is that? Why is that the case? The thing is you're right. Not a lot of these techniques and strategies are going to work for you. As you can see, I mean, look at this guy. This guy is going out, and it's actually working for him. Some people wish they were in this guy's case, where you could just go out and girls are saying hi to him, even if they're not attractive. It feels good, but it's not working for this guy because there's something deep-rooted. Something is happening here that is not working for him. And it could be going back to something maybe that happened in childhood or a trauma that happened later on in your life. Or maybe there's trauma from the divorce, right? Something happened to the effect where it messed with your psychology. It messed with the inner game of who you are. And therefore, you aren't congruent with your words, your actions, your thoughts, and your beliefs. And this is why you're writing this. And this is why you're not seeing these results. So I urge you, really see a therapist. And I'll give you a couple tips real quickly on how to find a good therapist if this is something you're interested in. And if you're like, I don't want to do that, and you never gave it a shot, give it a shot. And if you have done it and you said, it sucked, well, there's probably a good reason for that. And that reason is you didn't find the right person. So the strategies to finding a therapist are making sure, if you want, they're covered in your insurance, if you want to go through insurance or not. And you need to go to them and you need to do a couple sessions, maybe 3 sessions. And if it doesn't feel like it's a match, then you need to find someone else. Try different age groups, try different genders, work with a woman, work with a man, work with someone who's fresh and young, who's a new psychologist, work with someone who's really old, who's been doing it for a long time. I can't say which type is going to be better for you. It all depends, but you need to try it out and you need to figure out what's best for you. But the real point here is there's some deep-rooted stuff going on that I'm not going to be able to answer. A program is not going to be able to answer, and someone without a psychological degree is going to have a tough time answering. Okay, so you need to be going down to the deep-rooted issue of what this is, and that, my friend, can be the solution right there. Okay, that can be the solution right there. You care a lot. You care a lot what people think. You care a lot, and that's normal. We all do. I do. Okay, I do all the time. It's something that we're always going to be working on. Now, here's the thing. You are in this rut here, and you're really, I'm confused on what you think women are looking for because you're thinking, they need to have their life together. You didn't really paint a clear picture of what your life is. So I'm really imagining, if you're really painting it like you're speaking it, I'm imagining a guy who's extremely poor, who doesn't have his life together, who either has no job or a very poor paying job, is in a lot of debt, your life is a mess. And now I'm going to the extreme here, and I'm going to answer this question for someone who's in that extreme case. So here's the good news. If that's not your case, and you're making enough money to get by, and you live in a decent place, and you have good relationships in your life with maybe friends, maybe family, if not family, other colleagues, you enjoy your job, but you didn't give me a clear picture here. So I'm just going to assume that really your life is terrible. Well, here's the thing. If your life sucks, going out and meeting women is probably not the first thing you should be focusing on, because you're right. I mean, as we see here, you're going out, you're trying to talk to women. It's kind of working, it's kind of not, but it's not working because you don't feel secure inside. And let me tell you something, keep continuing to keep on going out and talking to girls. This is not going to work for you, okay? Something has to change. So what I would say is stop going out and start working on the thing that's going to actually build your confidence. And confidence needs evidence. I actually heard that somewhere, and I really like that. I heard that lately. Confidence needs evidence. And that means that in order to build that confident feeling inside of you that keeps you going, you need evidence that something is working, right? So for example, let's say you're picking up a guitar for the first time. You probably have no confidence, right? Well, of course you don't. You never played it before. So to sit there and play anything, you have no confidence in it because you have no evidence. But then you play for a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, hell, maybe even play for a year, and you want to sit down and play an easy song, you have full confidence. Well, what happened before? Why didn't you have the confidence to play the full song before? Right? Obviously, common sense is because you never played it before. Confidence needs evidence. Same thing here. If you haven't had a much experience with women and going out and talking to women, well, you're not going to have that confidence. Confidence doesn't come before you go out. It comes from the evidence of actually working towards and getting good results. Now, here's where the hard part comes in. This is where mind over matter comes in, where you really got to work hard here. This is where you make sure that you continue keeping up with whatever you're doing, even though you're failing, to get to the point where you see the evidence. Yes, this is hard. There's not like a big trick here. The only thing I can say to you is to do your best to look at this as more of a process and not have your emotions attached to it, and have confidence, maybe not in yourself, but in the process, because this process has worked for a lot of people. A lot of people. I'm telling you, a lot of people who are overweight, underweight, short, tall, rich, not rich, good looking, not good looking. It's worked for a lot of people, and I've seen it. The only difference between the people it's worked for and the people it hasn't is they put trust in the process. They said, I'm just going to keep going. And I know that's hard because your emotions start to convince you like it's convincing you, the writer, who said, well, I don't want to necessarily, keep on going with it because they're going to find out. They're going to find out about me. They're going to find out that it's not really what it appears to be. Let them find out. You need evidence. You need evidence here, okay? Now, you might be thinking, well, Trip, what if I get the evidence that it's true, that I take these girls home, I go on dates with them, they see my life, and it sucks? That's fine because it's fixable. Then you get on the bandwagon of fixing your life. If they come to your place and it's disgusting, clean it up. If you're not making enough money, then you got to work on making more money to have the kind of lifestyle you want. Now, again, this is not me saying you need to make a lot of money to make girls, but you need to make a lot of money or a lot of money to afford the lifestyle that you want. That's comfortable for you, being reasonable, of course. You know what I mean? If you're like, I want a lifestyle living in a penthouse in Miami, well, maybe that's not going to be your reality right now. So let's get to a place where at least you're comfortable and happy. That's why this isn't working for you. I mean, again, therapy is still very good, and I think you should do it, but you're not happy with yourself because you don't like your circumstances. You need to fix your circumstances. You need to get evidence. You need to go for the evidence. You're not following through. You need to go for the rejection. You need to go for, yes, get their number. You know what? Screw it. Take a girl home that you're not super attracted to. If that's going to just, you guys having a good night and it ends up, builds a little bit of confidence because you feel good, then do it. Because there's nothing worse than where you're at right now. I don't see it getting any worse. You're trying to convince me it will get worse if you follow through with it. It's not going to get worse. It might get worse in your head, but stop thinking about your head. Think about what's in front of you. Real life is happening in front of you, not inside of your head. So in front of you right now, you have no girls. So if you try something new and try to get evidence and you still have no girls, you're in the same exact place. This is the new mindset I'm trying to train you to think. Okay, this is the new mindset. Now you might be thinking, well, now I've proven it's hopeless. Again, back to the same concept. You need evidence. So you got to fight for it. And this is what makes it hard, by the way. This is what makes it hard. It's just your mind. It's your mind playing tricks on you, thinking it's never going to happen for me. I'm too old. I've been divorced. This isn't going to happen. Let me tell you something. I know that there are guys out there who don't have their quote-unquote life together, but they don't give a shit. They're confident and love their life and who they are. They don't need a lot of money to get by. They don't care where they live. They don't care what they look like. And that attitude alone attracts girls. Is it going to attract a lot of girls? Maybe not, because, so there are girls out there who do still want you to have your life together, and I don't blame them. I'd hope that you want to be with the girl who has her life together, right? So those are some things that must be done. But still, there are guys out there who can do that, who can have nothing going on, but they don't give a shit. And it still works. So this is me saying this to prove to you that, again, it's all in your mind. And this is what we need to fix. Okay? So that's kind of what we're talking about here. So yeah, therapy. Therapy is step one. Step two is taking a really honest look at your lifestyle and saying, okay, what is it that I need to fix? What would make me feel a little bit better about my life going in and talking to more girls? And that's where the dating coaching comes in, right? I don't know if a therapist might say that stuff, but that's why you listen to this podcast, so you can get a coach's perspective on some kind of how-to strategies. Now, therapy does that too, by the way. Of course, they give you some strategies and how-tos, and they kind of coach you too. But I'm just kind of getting right to the point here of things that you can do. So combine those two. Combine going to therapy, listening to these podcasts, taking my courses, getting Fearless, or get Hooked at least. Hooked is my main program that teaches you how to attract women and gives you the strategies to do that. So if you combine therapy, working on your inner stuff, and then working with Hooked, that gives you the outer strategies in terms of how to actually go up to girls, even if you're shy, talking to girls, getting them attracted, building sexual tension, then this is going to help you. So you can check that out at getherhooked.com, getherhooked.com. And once you get that, you'll also have the opportunity to tack on the program called Fearless, which is going to help you even more. And I still think, even though Fearless attacks some of these issues like anxiety and confidence and self-esteem, you still should go to a therapist. Do it all. Do it all, man. Do it all. Do everything you can. Life is short. Why are we not working really hard to make ourselves better? And I get it. Sometimes we're in such a rut that we can't even think that way. You're in such a depressed rut and things are so low, like this guy here, that you can't even get there. But let me tell you something. This guy has tried everything. Does that mean he should give up? No, because honestly, I don't think he's tried enough. I don't think you can ever try enough. I don't think there's ever an end point where you're like, I've tried it all. If you tried it all, save enough money and go see Tony Robbins, who's performed miracles. Okay, on your inner game. You haven't tried it all. You haven't tried it all. So there's so much out there and so many resources for you. So that's what I think. That's my diagnosis here for this guy. Something's not adding up. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's get to the deep-rooted issues, and let's start working on your lifestyle. Okay, you're saying that you don't feel worthy because of your circumstances, situation, and lifestyle. I quote. Then start to change those. Is it going to happen overnight? Of course not. So start working on it. This is me kicking you in the butt. All right, that's another episode of How to Talk to Girls. Ooh, we went deep on this one. I got intense there. Don't forget to check out Hooked, getherhooked.com, and I'll see you on the next episode.